Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to thank each of our panel of witnesses here for participating in the hearing. You know, Americans of Muslim faith, they truly are an integral part of our nation's community and contribute to the quality of life in this country. And they're our neighbors and our friends. Muslims serve honorably as policemen, teachers, and in our armed services, and some indeed have given the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our freedom and our way of life. My deep respect for the Muslim community is the foundation upon which I approach this critical issue. So it's with alarm and frankly with a degree of sadness that I conclude that the radicalization of our youth, one that is intent on spreading violent Islamic extremism, is indeed taking place in this country, posing a serious and increasing threat to our security. And that's why I respectfully reject the charge that this hearing is unnecessary and an assault on any particular faith. Now, I see this as a conversation, albeit an overhyped one, but it's a conversation that must take place, and I commend the Chairman for remaining steadfast and holding a thoughtful dialogue on this subject. Dr. Nasser, I'd like to address my first question to you, sir. I note that in your written testimony, you conclude one paragraph with this line: "The liberty narrative is the only effective counter to the Islamist narrative." You certainly have my attention. I fully agree with that. And what are the next steps to play that out and to use that proper message to counter what's taking place now?
Yeah, you know, I think I look at my own life about why I turned out the way I did and Nidal Hassan turned out the way he did. And I grew up, for example, learning that our system of governance, people are innocent until proven guilty. Our law enforcement is innocent until proven guilty. So same process. And I think what we need to do is we've talked abroad about nation building and how that doesn't work. Now we've shifted into institution building. And it's interesting that somehow we compartmentalize things abroad different than we do domestically. And in fact, it's the same issue. It's the same diagnosis. The concepts of liberty, my parents were blessed to have, my father was blessed to have been educated in London, so the understanding of separation of church and state was something he internalized as an undergrad, but there's no educational infrastructure to bring Jeffersonian democracy to many of our own heritages. So if we're going to get these ideas into the communities so that it becomes part of the institutions we build and we take on the imams and we remind the imams that imam means teacher, it doesn't mean leader. All you do is teach us religion. You don't lead society and you don't have a role in government. This whole enlightenment process needs institutions that you can help us build, help us provide the infrastructure to do that, but yet allow Muslims to do it. And I think it doesn't cross the First Amendment because your role is to advance liberty, to advance freedom, advance and help ideas of equality, of human rights, universal human rights concepts, and then you make sure that we live to those and our Islamic institutions endorse those. And then we start engaging in Al Jazeera, in media, and Muslim media, these ideas, because right now most of the foreign media or Islamic media is not having this discourse. It's all about polarity of being Muslim, advocating for Islam versus the West, and that polarity can go away with institution building.
Thank you. And in the short time we have remaining here, what role have foreign imams played, and in fact are playing today, and spreading, you know, this radical form of Islam?
I can't tell you how important that is. In that, what they're doing, and former CIA Director Jim Woolsey had talked about the fact that the Saudis have spent over $90 billion in spreading their ideology of Wahhabism in the past 2 generations.
Including America?
Including the United States. And that's why I mentioned those mosques. There's mosques in Cincinnati and in LA and New York, all across the country that have been part of Saudi investments in their ideology abroad. And in order to counter that, we need a strategy to help counter those institutions that are building those ideas.
Dr. Jasser, and all of our witnesses today, thank you so much for being here. And Dr. Jasser, I applaud you being a bold voice on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
I yield back.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I will recognize the gentleman from Texas.